thing that we really like to talk about is this idea of the parable of the rocks. And it goes like this. There was a professor, he had a big jar, and he had a bunch of piles of various sizes of rocks out there. And he started out by putting in all of the big rocks. And he said, "Is the jar full?" And the student said, "Yes, the jar is full." And he said, "Well, let's see." And then he got some smaller rocks out and put those in, and they kind of filled in some of the gaps. And he said, "Well, now is the jar full?" And they go, "Yeah, yeah, it's full." And he got out some smaller gravel and he put that in, and it filled in even more of the holes. And okay, is it full now? Yeah, okay, nope. And then he got some sand out, and he could finally fill this thing up all the way with sand. And he said, "What's the moral of the story here? What's the lesson of the that should be learned with this analogy that I'm drawing here?" And one of the students raised their hand and they said, "Well, it's that you can always cram something more in." He said, "No, that's not the lesson. The lesson is if you don't get these big rocks in early, you can never fit them in at all. Well, if you fill up the whole thing with sand, with these little trivial things, you can't fit in the big stuff." And so that's the kind of the idea of the parable of the rocks, is we want to get our big rocks in. And if we miss out on filling in with some of the sand or the gravel or the little rocks, but we got our big rocks in, it's really going to be good for our team. And so kind of got to think about that as well. And you'll hear coaches every now and then, "Well, our big rocks are," and that's what they're referring to. This is the most critical stuff that we have to work on now. And so, that's one of the things you got to figure out. What are my big rocks? What do I really need? What does this team in particular need at this phase of the season, given, our statistical performance and given what I know about our level and just the general kind of principles of the game? What become our big rocks?